Check, 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 1, 2. Welcome, you guys, for another edition of Hot Topics, Celeb TV, radio podcast After Dark. I am your host, DTEFLON on the MIC. Tonight, joining me in the Hot Topics chair, a very special guest that I've been looking forward to having on. The beautiful, the sexy, the talented stand-up comedian, model, actress, Miss Silvia Saige will be in the building. Don't forget, you can check us out each and every Tuesday night on Hot Topics Radio TV After Dark. Also every Sunday night, Hot Topics in Conversation, legends, Hollywood actors, directors, and producers. Don't forget, you can guys find us on iHeartRadio. Tonight, as I said, is a very special night. I want to wish all you guys a very happy Easter. Don't forget, you can check us out, as I said, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under Hot Top Sex Celeb TV. And if you missed this podcast, don't forget you can tune in and watch it this Saturday live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Hot Topic Celeb TV on YouTube. Tonight, joining us in the building, ladies and gentlemen, she is a legend in the game. She is the beautiful. She is the sexy. She is the talented. She is the one and only indescribable, indesirable, the beautiful Silvia Saige is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
Welcome, ladies.
Yes,
guys,
thanks for having me. A long time coming. We've been
definitely a long time. Guys, if you have a comment or a question that you want to ask Silvia, you can drop it in the comments. We will answer them towards the end of this podcast tonight. So before we get started, I want you guys to throw a thumbs up in the comment box that you can hear us on both ends. Let us know you guys can hear us really well. Happy Easter. Guys, if you can hear us well on both ends, please throw a thumbs up in the comments and let us know that you can hear very well.
Can you hear us now?
Perfect. Don't forget, guys, once again, you're in for another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV. I'm your host, DTEFLON, on the MIC. You can find me at DTEFLON and Silvia Saige at Silvia Saige on Instagram. Please don't forget, hit the subscribe button in the bio to the channel, and you can watch this podcast in full this Saturday live on the replay. Miss Silvia Saige, welcome for another edition, episode 21 of Hot Topic Celeb TV. I want to welcome you into the building, my friend. How are you doing? How are you been holding up throughout this crazy pandemic that we were living in?
Honestly, I've been doing great. The pandemic was kind of much needed for me. It made me reevaluate and reassess and realize where my real money was coming from and where my real happiness was coming from. And I just refocused everything. And it's been a huge blessing for me, honestly.
Well, I think that's what I've said to people, many times over the last year, that I think 2020 was a year that needed to happen for not just, overall for just people. Unfortunately, but overall in the sense of that 2020, the definition of it. I wear glasses to see. When I wear these, I got clear vision. And I think that 2020 was a clear vision aspect for most people because before 2020, we were all sort of just going at this fast pace, moving at a certain tempo, not really paying attention, maybe not even on the necessary path in life that we were supposed to be on. Yeah. And 2020 forced us all to stop, reassess, look at what's in front of you, look at who's beside you, who's supporting you, who's with you, what you're for, what you're against. And also was for me, I would say for a lot of people, and going off what you said, was self-reflection. Yeah. To really see exactly, number one, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I following my dreams? Am I following my heart? Or am I just sort of just going day to day, which I think most people do in society? They don't really have a plan. And I think now that it's forced people to sort of make a plan. So for you, I want to start off, yourself. I mean, you've done a lot per se in your life, but I want to know first for the people who don't know you, who are just tuning in for the very first time, tell them where you're from, who you are, and how you got started on this path from Kansas City
Yeah.
to Los Angeles?
Yeah, well, if you don't know me, my name is Silvia Saige. I am an adult film actress and stand-up comedian, as well as now podcaster, actor, model, influencer, all of the above. And honestly, for me, I started out in the medical field nearly a decade. I spent in the medical field and then realized that it wasn't what was going to make me happy. And I had randomly found comedy through attending open mics with a friend of mine and ended up falling in love with it and realizing that that was going to be my passion, my actual passion. So I picked up everything and left the medical field, came out to California and tried my hand at stand-up comedy. And with finding out how expensive Los Angeles really was, I uniquely found myself working in adult films as a way to initially just like fund my comedy career. But then I ended up kind of falling in love with the industry. And now I have been in for 7 years and I work with the top names in the game. It's been so fun for me. My comedy career has taken off because of it, because I get to be a niche. I get to be something that not a lot of people have seen or have heard before. And I don't know, it's just been great. I've literally loved my LA experiences. I've had ups, I've had downs, I've been homeless, and now living like an actual, you know, life that is sustainable and paying all my bills and taxes and all of the above. And it's fantastic. It's nice to know that you can be on top, which is where I felt I was in the medical field, and then you can crash to the bottom, which is where I was with homelessness in Los Angeles, and then rise back up and just know that life is a wave, and it's a fun wave if you really just enjoy it, you know?
So for you, like, I mean, taking that jump in the sense that, you know, which to me I have so much respect for because it's sort of how my story was, where I was in a place in a city where I didn't really feel that there was opportunities for what I wanted to do in the business.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, you have people that have been in your life, whether it's family, friends in the beginning, who sort of say when you have a dream that that dream's not going to be turned into reality. It's like you should. They all, I mean, as I said,
give
people
up
having
on your dream and do
exactly
something real. Yeah.
people having a plan where they're like, you know, they expect you to go to school,
Yeah.
go to college,
Which I
go to
did.
university,
Yep.
and then after that, it's like, okay,
You
find
get
the
your job in
husband.
your field, you work
Get,
40 hours a week, and
uh-huh.
that's it.
And
you
then
do that until you die.
till you die. And so for you, like, what was the thing, the moment when was there a certain moment in your life where you were like, you know, I need to do this? Like, what pushed you over the edge? Because I mean, again, it's easier, and I guess obviously in our day, like, yes, it was easier to sort of pick up and just go and do and take a chance on yourself.
Yeah.
But even for a female, you know, and I know a lot of females in the sense who have moved to LA and they all come into the whole thing of like the attitude of like, if I find an agent and I move to LA, I'm going to be famous and it's just all going to happen. And then they get there and realize that that's not what it is about. Like what you see on TV, and I've always said this before, like you don't know someone's story. You only see the glory.
Right.
You see everything, the cars, the money, et cetera, but you don't know what that person has gone through to get to that point. So for you, what was that moment when you were sitting in, you know, your house or wherever you're at in Kansas City and you were like, I need to go. I need to do this. What was that moment?
Well, that moment for me is it's a rather shocking moment, and one I don't talk about all that often. But I had a drug problem as well, and I had hit real rock bottom, and I had taken my own life, and I was brought back in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And I realized that something had to change. And I didn't know what it was going to be. And I actually worked in medicine for a few years after that while I was pursuing comedy. And comedy for me was an outlet to talk about my depression, to talk about my anger, to talk about all of those issues and relate to people with them instead of hiding them and being afraid of them. But yeah, so I did comedy for several years, like just completely under the radar, doing, you know, bars and whatever open mics I could find until I really found myself. It wasn't until 4 years after my suicide that I actually picked up and left. But I knew probably right away that things had to change.
Okay.
And I took about 2 years of like figuring things out, staying in the medical field, and then quit everything. And I was like, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pursue it 100%. And for me, like when I commit to something, I'm in it. Even if I'm mentally or financially probably not ready for it, if I've said I'm going to do it, if my word is my bond, and I will do it. And
Well,
that's just my mindset.
I think that's the mindset. I mean, that because, and this is the thing is what I, you know, it's funny that you named the start of your podcast Raw. And that's what I love about you, is because you're going to get a raw realness and truth.
Yeah.
There's no faking. There's no hiding behind, in a sense. What I say, it didn't take coronavirus for people to start wearing masks. I think people masked all fucking day. And now
Preach that. Yes.
they're all seeing, in a sense, number one, the reality. Because again, it's like when you are outspoken, opinionated. It's not even, I think, even opinionated, because I think that we should be allowed to be able to speak our minds freely, as long as we're not doing them in a disrespectful way that people don't understand. Like, words are as dangerous as a bullet to some people. And when you have gone through what, just like you, just like me, I mean, as I said, I am a suicide survivor myself as well. And I know when you hit that bottom space, it's not something that you even plan, think about. You just have a psychological break that you're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
In the pain.
In the
That's
pain.
all that matters.
And if you're lucky to come up from the other side, you have a choice. You know, you have a choice to either say, okay, I'm going to stay in this place.
Stay in the life that made me this miserable.
Or you make a change. And it was like me. I mean, I went through those phases. I went through, you know, criminal phases per se, being in a gang. And I remember the same thing of like, you know, there's something has to change, and it's not going to be changed by anybody else. I mean, and the best part I think about when you go through something what you have gone through is when people write you off. Because now it motivates you. Now it fuels you to say, you know what? You knocked me down. But I'm going to show you exactly that I can do this, and I can do it not without your help. I can do it because I'm doing it for me. So like for you, you know, going through, as you said, you know, a drug problem and a suicide. I mean, what did you find for yourself that was the lowest point in your life that you've experienced?
You know, I've had a lot of lows. I mean, honestly, I feel like everybody's life. I don't feel like I'm alone in saying this. I feel like everybody's life hits those dramatic highs and dramatic lows, and I've definitely hit a few, and I've hit a few since being in Los Angeles. You know, when I did have I was homeless for a year. And when I was homeless, I was definitely in a bad point of my career as well. I was doing things that I would have never thought I would do in my career. And I was doing them, and I was doing them on camera. And I just didn't have the respect for myself. I think I let what everybody else was saying about me get into my brain. And then I started thinking that about myself. And I was like, well, but nothing matters. You know, I'm just this low level life. But I think that's what I also respect about porn, is when I started respecting myself, that because people had put me at such a low level. I mean, people like take away your identity as a human when you get into pornography. I mean, they don't even associate you as a person any longer. You've made this decision to be the laughing stock of the world, and that's your fault. You know, that's what I love about it, is that it did rip away everything from me. It ripped away any eliteness I thought I had. It ripped away my college education. Not that it took it away, but people don't assume I have it, and they don't, you know, they don't give it any legitimacy. I mean, people took everything away from me. And so now I feel like, well, I've got nothing to hide. You can literally see my asshole on the internet. Like, good luck finding a secret. I have none. I've spoken about everything in my life. I've talked about my suicide. I talk about STDs. I talk about literally everything. There's nothing in my life that has gone wrong that I wouldn't tell the world. And it's such a nice feeling to have no secret.
Well, to be, because I mean, what I call, in a sense, number one is that you let yourself be free to tell your truth of who you are. And I think that, you know, I had a conversation with somebody because, I mean, as I said, I mean, I've worked in that, not as a performer, but on the other end of the business of the adult and film industry. And, you know, the one thing that I learned real quickly, in the sense of where people who have gotten into the business, you know, because of course there's the fans that see you and they see what you do,
right?
But they don't seem to forget, one, there's a real person there. That a lot of times, for example, like, people think that, like, this is all they do, just fuck all day. Like, they don't think of it as a job. They don't think of it
like, I walk into rooms and just start sucking
cock.
Like, I can't contain myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, for you, like, you know, getting into the industry, because, I mean, as I said, everyone sort of has a story. And I mean, and a guest that I had on, Amber Nicole Miller, you know, she talked to me about people who are in the industry as well, that everyone, I think, who gets into the industry didn't wake up and said, I want to be an adult film star. They always, she said that, you know, that a lot of it comes from that person's trauma that they experienced possibly in the earlier parts of their life, that if they didn't experience the trauma that they've gone through, they probably would have gone on a different path. So for you, like, getting into the adult industry, was that something that you felt you got into based on trauma, or was it something that you were like, okay, I was either already a sexual person, so I might as well get paid for it, or C, was it something where you're like, as I've said to people, whether you strip, whether you work in a strip club, whether you're a porn star, whatever you do, you know, nobody should tell you or be able to tell you how you go about making your living. And if you're in a situation where you ain't got no family support, you ain't got no friend support, you ain't got no sugar daddy support, you do what you got to do to survive. So for you, like, what was the thing that made you get into the industry?
I'd say for me, a good portion of B, for sure. I had a girlfriend who had gotten into the industry right before I did. And she was one of the girls who, like, the day I met her, she was like, oh, I just always really wanted to do porn. Like, she even told me when she met me, she was like, oh, I just think you're so beautiful. I really want to fuck you. And I was like, I'm not into girls, but thank you. And then lo and behold, a few years later, she was my first porn, and she did fuck me, and she got everything she ever wanted. But for me, I was working 2 jobs here in Los Angeles. I was working for a construction company during the day, and I was working bartending at night, and I wasn't doing any comedy because I was just trying to stay afloat because it was so expensive. And I saw her make a bunch of money in 1 week, and I was like, if I could just do a little bit of porn, I could do comedy. And I was a super sexual person. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had sex with hundreds of people before I got into pornography. Now, granted, I was 30 when I got into porn, but I'm saying hundreds of men I have had sex with prior to pornography. I was very much like the girl who would look for a one-night stand. I used to love one-night stands.
It's less complicated, man. Less complicated.
Yeah, I was definitely that girl. But now, I mean, porn changed my sexual prowess in all different ways. I've only gotten more sexual because I'm in my late 30s now, and my sex drive is off of the fucking charts. But I was definitely sexual, but I'm more sexual now in different ways, I will say. But it was definitely not something like, I don't think I told anybody in my life that I was doing porn that went, oh, no way. They all go, okay, saw that coming. Like, no one was shocked by this. Like, I had worked at Hooters when I was 18. When I waited tables after leaving the medical field, I waited tables at Twin Peaks, which is a restaurant. You know, I used my looks and my sexuality my entire life. So it wasn't a far stretch for me to do it on camera, you know? So I don't think it wasn't out of desperation by any means, because I do have a college degree and my college has job placement for the rest of my life. I just don't ever want to work in the medical field again. I don't ever want to work for someone again. So I love being my own boss. Like,
was the medical field your passion, your first passion?
Never.
So what was your passion?
It was comedy. Comedy is the only thing I've ever felt like passionate about, you know? That I'm like, I have to figure out how to make this happen. And it's interesting now too, because of the pandemic. I always thought it was like stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. And now I'm like, I don't really want to go do stand up in someone's fucking garage or outside at a park. Like, I have other things going on with my comedy, and I've got a movie coming up I'm doing. I have my own series I'm writing. Like, I can do comedy on my podcast, so many different platforms that I don't have to be doing, you know, 10 shows a week, killing myself doing stand-up, making $50 a show. Like, I don't need it, you know?
Well, here, the beauty about it, in a sense, obviously, with the pandemic, where, you know, where you, like right now with what we're doing, like we got people from all over the world, Brazil, signing in. So it's like, to you, when you use your own platform, which I've always said to people is like, now with everyone being at home, on their phones, glued to their devices, you have your audience that you literally, number one, are getting a bigger audience where, you know, you don't have to have the lump in your throat before you step on stage to wonder, okay, like, is this audience going to turn out?
Is this audience going to like me?
Like me.
I already know the audience likes me, or they wouldn't be here.
Exactly. You know, so like for you, like when you first, in the sense, as I said, you know, got into the adult entertainment industry, was it something that, like, once you did it, did you ever have any regrets of getting into the business? Because you said that, you know, it didn't start off the way that you
I had so many regrets. In the beginning, I would just be sitting there, like, just doing whatever, journaling or having lunch, and all of a sudden it was like a kick to the gut. It was like my heart would drop down to my stomach and it just would hit me, and I'd go, what am I doing to my family? Like, what am I doing to them? Like, these poor people, they raised me so well. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love everyone in my family. I'm so close to them. And I just didn't want people to view them as like bad parents or that they weren't there for me, because that was my biggest thought. It was never like what people think of me. It was like how they're going to treat my family. That mattered the most to me. And that was always the what am I doing here? And like some of the cringy porn I've done. I'm like, what am I doing here? You know? And then you start talking to older people in the industry and they start telling you, like, you know, you don't have to do that stuff, right? You can say no. Learning to say no was my biggest, like, turning point. So I was like, oh, I don't have to have sex with people I don't want to have sex with just because they're on my call sheet. I can get the call sheet and then Google them and go, no. And like, yes, you can. So now.
And this is the thing. This is the thing that, number one, like, you know, my friend, in the sense, who, as you know, in the industry, passed away, Mercedes, you know, when she committed suicide, and it was sort of the same thing, was like, she vocally spoke out and said, hey, I don't want to perform with this person for this reason. And then next thing you know, the next 24 hours, got a whole bunch of backlash on the internet. And 24 hours after that, she took her life. And so for you, like, having to deal with what people, you know, say and think, I mean, what for you would say has been the biggest misconception for people that A, aren't in the industry and know what you do, and B, the misconception that they have about you personally?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception of the industry in general is that we are dirty people, that we are, you know, diseased, that we're all drug addicted. Now, can I say that there are drug problems in our industry? Absolutely. But there are drug problems in any industry. When I was addicted to drugs, I was doing cocaine with doctors and lawyers, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not oblivious to any industry. But what I will say is that there are some really powerful business-minded people in this industry, and they need to be taken seriously. We aren't the bottom barrel of the universe. We're just people who decided to do something different than what you did. And I think the biggest misconception of people with me is that I don't know, that I took probably the easy way out. I get that a lot, especially from other comics, because I think other comics accredit my adult career to my comedy career going well. And in that, I say, yeah, that's probably why my comedy career is going well. It's because I did adult. And they combine and cross over into the two. And I get to have two different fans and other people do. But you know what? You could have done it too. You could have done anything. A
100%.
lot of people have different jobs. Like, people want to hate on me because I did it a different way than they did. And I think that is crazy. Like,
No, and I deal with
ways.
the same thing, and exactly what you said. That's a beautiful point. Is that, you know, when you're able to, because again, like, they're still thinking of the '90s way, like where you had this path where it's like, okay, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to be a model. But the game has changed. You want longevity in this business, like entertainment in general. You have to mix it up. You have to be able to understand creative and be a brand. And that's what you have turned from doing your podcast, doing acting, doing modeling, doing all these different spectrums. So you are not putting yourself in a box where other people, number one, who are sitting there, you know, going, well, why am I making it? And why am I not here? And why am I not there? Well, reassess. Look at what you're actually doing on why you're staying in the same path. So like you, as I said, crossing over into stand-up comedy. And as you said, this was your passion. You were doing it before you even got in the adult entertainment industry.
I didn't cross over. I definitely started in comedy.
Started.
As an adult. Yeah.
So for you, like, what would you say has been the hardest takeover that you've had to deal with from stepping into the comic industry and being taken serious as a comic?
It's all the other comics. It has nothing to do with the crowds. The audience is always very receptive and very warm to me. People are always like, oh, how do you deal with hecklers? I'm like, I don't have hecklers. I don't ever feel like when I step on stage, people want to be mean to me. They want to listen because they're like, oh my God, is this a porn star about to talk about porn on stage for us? Like, yes, they're into it. It's the other comics that I'm like constantly like trying to prove my worthiness to, which is just like madness, because I'm like, why don't you prove your worthiness to me? Like, I'm killing it on stages. Like, I don't know why my comedy is any different because I talk about my career. Like, you talk about your kids. I'm not talking about your kids on stage. Like, I'm not talking about your doggy daycare job. Like, you can talk about that. I'm gonna talk about my shit. I'm sorry, it's more interesting than your shit.
But do you ever feel that, like, and this is like a double-sworded stereotype, where if a male comic, and we've seen tons of male comics that talk about sex in their stand-up comic routine.
Yeah.
So do you feel there's a double standard that you being a woman in the industry talking about sex, it's okay for the men to do it and get applause, but when a woman does it, it's like the biggest sin ever. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be. So like, what would you say to those specific comments, or anyone in general, of the fact of like who's choosing, say they're in the industry like you, in the adult entertainment industry? And
you know what I say to those people, honestly? Nothing. I move on. You know how many people have recommended to me that I do stand up under a different name, or that I stop talking about sex so much, or that I change my material to something more mundane. And I just, you know what? I just go, okay, thank you, like, for your like recommendation, and then I walk off and I don't deal with those people because they'll be back. My career is going nothing but up. So I'll just wait for those people to come begging back for me to do Silvia Saige and talk about blowjobs, you know? So, because that's what I talk about. Like, I mean, it's not all I talk about, but I'm definitely talking about porn and pornography. I'm not talking about just blowjobs or, you know, whatever. Like, it's an actual comedy routine about my life. And that's what it is. So I'm very confident in who I am and what I bring to the table, and I'm very confident that even the people who have turned me away and the doors that have closed will reopen, and it's just a matter of if I want to walk back through them or not, you know?
So what advice would you give for someone, two things. First one would be, what advice would you give for someone who decides that they want to take a path into the adult entertainment world? What advice would you give them?
I say just be really careful and be 100% aware of what you're stepping into, and know that it's going to affect every tiny aspect of your life. It's going to affect your life with your family. It's going to affect your life with your friends. It's going to affect your life in public. It's going to definitely affect your life in private. It will affect your love life. It will affect every ounce of what you do until we make this world a better, more accepting place. And nothing goes off of the internet ever. So this has to be something you're like really, really ready to step into, because it is a point of no return.
How would someone who wanted to get into the business get into the business?
I say number one is to find a reliable agent. And there are only probably 5 porn agencies that are reliable and that anyone should even go to. And once you get with a reputable agent, they will kind of like test the waters with you and kind of see like what scenes you'll be best for. But
which reputable ones would you recommend for people if they were wanting to get in the business?
Well, Spiegler is an amazing agent, but he's incredibly hard to get into. OC Models is who I'm with. They're a very good agency. There is Society 15. They're a great agency. I've been with them before. 101 Models, I've also been with them. I've been with Hussy Models as well. Necessarily the 2 last ones didn't really work too well for me, 101 and Hussy, but they do have very reputable girls they still very much do great jobs for. The only place I would recommend absolutely staying away from is going to be LA Direct. And that is a company run by Derek Hay, who is currently in the midst of overwhelming charges of just neglect and horrible things he's done to women. So I don't recommend starting there. That is actually where I started in the industry, which is how things were so rough for me in the beginning. But there are definitely credible agents who are out there who can help and who are really good. I mean, I have been with OC for just over a year now, and I absolutely love them. They cater to everything I say. If I say I want to work 20 times a month, I work 20 times a month. If I want to work 5 times a month, I work 5 times a month. And I work with who I want. They're amazing, and they're award-winning themselves. So,
well, for you, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I've always said it, because I mean, I put like, I have like a top 5, I would say, like top 5 of the best ever, like ever stepped into the industry.
I'm not leaving. My fridge is right here, and I'm just.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, do your thing.
I can't stand up because I'm not wearing pants.
No. It's no pants Sunday anyway, so don't worry about it.
I'm like, I'm on a thing with a bodysuit, but I definitely do not have pants on.
It's all good. So like, I mean, as I said, like, I mean, when I look at, as I said, some of the best performers to ever step into me, and I've always said, like, you are in like that top 3, like, and I'm not just talking about on a performance level, but like, I've always, the first time I saw her, I was like, this girl should be doing mainstream. Like, you have a certain way about realism when you perform. It doesn't seem like it's like you're watching, when you watch those, back in the day, cheesy, vivid type of fucking porns where it's just over the top and not realistic. And like yours in a sense as a performer. Like, so for you, like getting into that industry, did you ever find it hard to balance a personal life of like a relationship with someone or date someone
Oof.
or have someone who didn't Google you and didn't know, and then all of a sudden they find out, hey, wait a minute, like.
I haven't really dated since, well, before I've been in the industry. I have been single since I was 24 and I'm 37. So
Okay.
for 13 years, I really have not dated. I have just.
Which is
been
shocking because you're like
I,
one of the most beautiful women in the world. So I find that really hard to believe.
well, thank you. But I've been continuously falling in love with myself, and that is the truth.
Mhm.
And I love spending time with myself, and I find myself being more driven.
Mhm.
When I'm single, when I'm in a relationship, I'm like a leech. So I'm like, we do everything together now, and I live my life.
I will
for
find you.
Yeah, so I'm definitely that girl. I'm like, we wake up together, we make breakfast together, we go hiking together, we run errands together. Like, so for me, I'm like, unless I'm ready to fully commit my life to somebody, I'm not really ready to commit even a little bit. So I don't know. Dating is so hard, and I've attempted to go on a few dates with people, but it's always that weird point, which no one ever not knows who I am.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't mean that in like I'm trying to like sound big, but I go under the name Silvia even in my regular life.
Mhm.
So Silvia Saige is the name I go by. I don't have, it's not like, oh, your legal name. Like, what do people call you? I'm like, people call me Silvia.
Mhm.
Everyone calls me Silvia. Unless you're booking me a plane ticket, you call me Silvia. Like, and even when you book that plane ticket, when I land, you call me Silvia. So
No, that's when we connected. I was like, "What do you want me to go by? You want to go by your name?" I'm like, "Okay." But I mean, and I think Sylvia suits you anyway, better anyway. So
I live my life as Silvia, 110%. So, so I don't know. It gets to a weird point in dating, I think, when, I have to go leave and have sex with other people. And
Mhm.
then the person I'm dating is like, well, do I get to have sex with other people? And I'm like, oh, no, you don't. Like, you just get to have sex with me unless someone's going to pay you. And then by all means, go fuck them and bring me the money.
But
back.
let's be real. After they have you, why would they want anything else?
Well,
like really, what are they going to find better? That's my whole point. Like, what are they going to find? But I mean, for you, like in that situation of dating, like, did you ever have someone who didn't know anything about you, and then found out, and then be like, yo, like, I can't fuck with this?
Not that I know of. I don't think so. I do think that, like, I think another thing is, like, if their family were to find out, I think that's another aspect of, like, hard to date. Because I don't think anybody that I've met didn't know, but, like, I don't know. People want to, like, hide you and keep you hush hush and, like, not announce you to the world. And
I've never understood that. I mean, listen,
if you're dating me, I need you to hold me up like the cub on the Lion King to the world, and be like, this is mine. Look at mine. Like, that's what I want to be to you if we're dating.
No, and I hear you. I mean, because I mean, where you deal with that, I deal with it on a different way with race. I've dated mainly Europeans. And majority of my exes have been Italian or Portuguese or Lebanese or Spanish or whatever, and it's always been. I mean, true story. Like a couple, many years ago, I was after I got split from my ex. I dated this girl, and we knew each other for a very long time. And I just like you, I've been single since 2004, since my split, because I'm tired of being a secret. Like, it's like they'll sleep with me, they'll hang out with me, they'll want to be on the red carpet with me. But I remember one time I was driving in the car with this girl, and she's a grown ass woman, just like you. And she's like, the phone rings, and she's like, shh. What the fuck you mean, shh? She's like, shh. I'm like, what do you mean?
You're not gonna be louder when you answer the phone. By the way.
So she's like, shh. So then she's talking, whatever, and then she gets off the phone. I said, what was that about? And I'm very blunt, just like you. And I was like, let me ask you a question. I said, and I've known this girl, as I said, for probably like 15 years. And I was like, does your family know that I'm black? And she was like, she went just real quiet. And I was like, do they know that I'm black? And she's like, well, D, you know, and this is the classic line that like you get, well, you're a porn star. I get, well, D, you wouldn't understand because they're old school. I'm like, so old school is basically the definition of racist because that's what it is. Like, just let's be fucking real. Like, there's no, it's a polite word that you want to use, but it's what it is. And I'm like, you're a grown ass woman. You should be able to make your own decision. It shouldn't be about what somebody thinks. And I think even with dating, because I've dated a porn star before.
Right.
And it didn't, she went off and did her thing. It didn't bother me because, again, if you know what you're getting yourself into in the beginning, then you accept that person with everything. And what they do is a job. Same way when I go to work, like if I do a movie and I've got to do a love scene or make out with a chick or do a photo shoot where I'm doing a fake wedding, doesn't mean I'm getting fucking married. Doesn't mean bottom line I'm falling in love. It's a job, the same way you do a job. So like in this pandemic, a question was asked to me before was, you know, when we look at the way the country and has been running this nightmare and locking down businesses and locking down, you know, people in their homes, has that affected the adult entertainment industry since this pandemic has started?
I think it's only like helped the adult industry since it started, especially with OnlyFans, which you can find me on OnlyFans, Silvia Saige, XXX. But because everybody was at home and everybody was bored, so everybody was jumping online and finding whatever they could find. And the nice thing about OnlyFans is it is me in my home. I'm literally filming everything from my fucking couch, which is why I always tell people, like, it costs a lot of money to get me out of my house because I don't think you understand how much money I make never leaving my fucking home. So the pandemic only increased my sales tenfold. I mean,
but I'm talking about going out and performing though. I'm talking about like in the performance aspect, like working with companies.
I mean, it definitely affected it for a short portion. We were on hold from March until July, but as soon as, March until June. But once kind of things started to open big up slowly, we opened right back up. We were COVID testing every 48 hours so we could still shoot together. But the companies were full force ready to come back because they are used to having a backlog of content to put out, and now they had no content. So every company out there was like, we need to shoot nonstop. So it was like when I came back from quarantine and went into shooting, I was shooting 20 times a month, and I had to tell my agent, like,
take a break.
Stop for a second. I literally shot for probably 20 days a month for 3 months, and then I said, hold on, I need to take some time off because I just can't mentally keep doing this every day. It's exhausting to shoot every day. So I had to just take 3 months where I did like a few shoots, maybe 3 or 4 a month, and now I'm like, just told my agent I can go back to like 5 or 10 shoots a month, but it was nothing but good for us because it just made us shoot so much more. So I don't think it hurt us at all.
Have you ever, like, and I know, I mean, there's certain performers in the sense who have been involved in different scandals per se of treatment of other women in the industry and stuff like that. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt that you were in some sort of danger in that business? Because I mean, obviously, to take the trust of when you first started getting into the business, when you don't know the business. I mean, did you ever have any bad experiences?
I definitely had bad experiences. I never felt in danger, but I definitely had experiences that I wish I would not have said yes to. I thought in the beginning, when I first started with my first agent, it was more like I worked for him. And I had to do the things that he required. I had to check off all of his boxes. And that's what I thought. And so that was my mentality. And I just worked for this man. And I was like, basically, he's my pimp. And I do these awful things. And I definitely regret a lot of that. I regret even signing with his company. I regret working with him at all. But then again, then you get the power of no, and everything changes.
So like for you, like what in the sense would you say has been the harder road? The comedy aspect of stand up, or the judgmental aspect of getting over not giving a fuck what people think about what you do and who you are? What's been the harder road?
Wow, that's a great question because I don't really know the answer. They've both been quite the struggle. Honestly, comedy is so hard. Everyone thinks like, oh, I could get up on stage and I could be funny. Like, then do it. Then try it. I would love to see it. Comedy is overwhelmingly hard. The pressure that you feel as a comic to come up with fresh stuff. And especially once people start saying, oh, she's good. When you go and take a stage and people are going, oh, she's so good, you're gonna love her. And then you go, oh fuck, I drank too much before I came. I'm really high. Like, am I gonna be the punny people that they want me to be? It's so much pressure to be. And I think that the pressure of dealing with how people view you in the industry is also a huge struggle, but it's a me struggle. It's a constantly fighting off the not good enough demons, because there also is this weird level of like, you know, being proud of yourself, but then don't be cocky. Like, so you gotta stay like right here of like proud of yourself but cocky, so you can't talk about being successful because then you're an asshole. Like, but you can't, you know, you can talk about being poor and you can talk about this and you can talk about being here. So it's a weird level to live in general, but both of them mind-blowingly hard. So,
do you find it harder now compared to when you started? Because obviously when you started, there wasn't social media. And now with everyone having an opinion, I mean, how do you deal with the trolls per se, whether it be on the internet or just in general? Like, has there ever been a point? Because I mean, you did a very beautiful, guys, if you haven't seen it, you should go and check out her IGTV. She did a very, very beautiful unveiling of just who this woman is. And if you have ever thought you knew this person, Silvia Saige, based on typing in an xxvideo.com, you don't know shit. And you need to really pay attention and know that, number one, that behind this beautiful person is a real person with a heart. And, you know, I think the biggest problem that we have in society nowadays is that people give opinions when they haven't been asked for them. And if you don't like what she does or what she does for a living, or don't like her comedy, or don't like her face or anything, there's a very simple solution. You can unfollow. You can remove yourself from the equation, and problem solved. So for you, like, have you ever had to deal with even just as from the trolls, but like from your own personal family, ever having to come to you and be like, you're ruining the family name, or you shouldn't be doing this? Or,
you know, never my family. Now, I think my mom probably struggled the most in the beginning because she's really religious. But even then, like, my family's never made me feel disgraced or unloved or anything like that. It's only been, you know, honestly, the random strangers or bitter comics. I feel it from bitter comics quite often. And honestly, I like to stay one level above, and I try not to go down to that, and I try not to dig back, but I'm human. And there's definitely been times, and there was a time literally yesterday where I fought with a troll and I went too deep into it. And then a buddy of mine who I often look to for advice, I literally love him, he called me and he literally said, he was like, don't feed into them. All they want is a response. He was like, silence is golden. Leave it alone. And I was like, know what? You're so right. And he goes, go hike Runyon. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I went and hiked
That's
Runyon.
your spot. I know you love that spot. You're always
It's my mental clarity. I love it there. And afterwards, I called him and I was like, "You're so right." And I was like, "Now I'm just mad at myself that I even responded at all because I should have never even went there." But I think the thing is, it hurts me the most is other comics telling me I'm not a comic. That's the thing that really like hurts my ego, and that's what I actually made the IG post about. It was another comic had written next to my name in a green room, like, "Ooh, why? Like, why would they have me at that comedy club?" And it's like, that's the thing that hurts me the most is because it's my biggest passion. It's what I spend the most time devoted to, and people don't give me the credit for it because I also have an adult career.
But do you feel it's because you have an adult career, or do you feel that if the roles were reversed and it was a male adult film star becoming a comic, would they have the
They
same
would
result?
love it. They would love it. Everybody would invite him out to everywhere. All the comics would invite him to their house to shoot the shit. He would be everybody's biggest acquaintance. Like he would be on all the stages. But because it's a woman, it's also like, I don't know why she thinks she deserves to be here. I'm like, well, because I've been a comic for 9 years. So that's why I deserve to be here.
Well, it's sort of what I had said to you before when I kept on asking you when I was like, look, I want to help you get out there, but you need to get the material documented, because I think that's the biggest piece for you, that you, as you said, when silence is golden, where you don't have to say shit, where if you have something to physically show, like in the sense of your product and what you've done, and it's put together and it's packaged together properly and it's marketed properly, then it's not going to be about what she looks like, what she's done in the adult world. It's going to be like, okay, she's a comic. But when I tell people, when they don't know, because I mean, it's like I see, for example, on Instagram, you got girls who will submit shit to us, and they'll be like, "I'm a model, I'm an actress, I'm a friggin' artist," and I go into their bio and I see it, and I'm like, okay, well, do you have a portfolio? No. Do you have a demo reel? No. Do you have an IMDb? No. So I'm like, explain to me how the fuck you are these things.
Right.
When
and I have reels. I have plenty of comedy reels. I just don't share them online because I share them with bookers. And I always tell people, if you want to see me do comedy, buy a ticket and come to the show.
No, and that's fine. But that's where I think for you is the missing piece to shut those fucking haters up, because once they see, okay, if they Google, whether they Google in the sense, number one, and they find your porn, but they see the same large amount of content of your comic stuff, it's going to change the perception. So, I mean, for you, like, what would you, with that stereotype, what do you feel should be done if you were to be able to change the landscape? What advice would you give in the sense for the bookers, the people who are in the comic business, to change that stereotype?
Well, I say it all the time, actually, because I always say, people are like, "Oh, what's your end goal?" And I'm like, well, my end goal is I want to do for sex and sexuality what Ellen DeGeneres did for being gay. Ellen DeGeneres is one of my favorite comics. She's someone I totally idolize, because Ellen DeGeneres did something completely out of the norm. Before Ellen, you didn't see gay people on TV. You didn't see gay people kissing. And she was the first gay person to kiss on screen, and it killed her. It killed her show. People talked bad about her forever. And then she made this huge comeback. And not only is being gay accepted, it is being celebrated. Having a gay best friend is the big thing in the world. You see gay couples on every TV channel, on HBO, on CNN. You see it everywhere. There's nothing being hidden any longer. And that's what I want to do for sex and sexuality. I want to change the world, and I want to make you see that we are not bad people. We're also just human beings, and we deserve the right just as much as anybody to say what we want to say. And I plan on doing that by just being open and honest with people and giving them every aspect of me, and giving them every aspect of other adult performers that I know and that I love and respect, and talking about it. I think talking about it is the only way to get it out there. And like I said, all the people who turn me away will regret it at one point, and that's fine. I'll just be the Ellen DeGeneres, and I'm just going to change it.
Well, sometimes I always say, sometimes you need to, be the sacrificial lamb sometimes to
Yes.
make those changes, because you know
Yes.
what, like, you know, change does not come with hate, but it's pushing through and driving through and saying, okay, I know me, I
Yeah.
know who I am, I
Yeah.
know what my end goal. It doesn't matter what the fuck you think my end goal should be,
Right.
as long as I wake up in the morning and
Happy and
are
ready to
happy
go.
with the person I am and the decisions that I've made.
Hmm.
Nobody should tell anybody how to live their life. I think you just
Yeah.
have to be finding that self, okay, I can look in the mirror and knowing that I did it my way. And I think that that's the biggest problem I think people have in society nowadays, is where it's like we don't have to agree on everything, because we're not going to.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean we have to be disrespectful
Yeah.
to each other, in the sense of like, okay, you have your opinion, I have mine. That's
Right.
cool. But you do you, and I'll do me, and then
Yeah.
we just go about our ways. And but I think now it's like, when you have an opinion or you speak on something that you are passionate about or truthful about, we live in this cancel culture of
Yeah.
like, you say that, okay, you're fucking canceled. So like, and you being so open, have you ever felt that has hurt you in a way from getting to the next level in your comedy and your stand up?
I think I felt like it did in the beginning, and I was afraid to be open and honest and truthful about everything. But I don't feel that now at all. I feel the exact opposite. I feel like the more I open up and the more I tell people, the more fans love it. They love that they can identify with the struggle. They love that I haven't just been on top forever. Like, people love knowing the ins and the outs. And I feel so blessed to be able to like just be honest with people and it
Mm-hmm.
like give the love back to me that I've like wanted for so long. You know, I felt very alone and for a long time. And I think adult and comedy both have just like made me feel like I have this huge community around me of like support and just like go do it, be you, be your authentic self, and it's so rewarding.
So when you just said, when you're feeling alone and going through, you know, the mental health, what do you do to get out of that state? Like when you were going through these rough patches and these rough moments, and even right now, I mean, us being in the fucking house. I mean, yes, I'm like you. I like my alone time. I like being by myself, but I
Hmm.
also miss being on a fucking set and working
Right.
and doing things that I'm passionate about. So like,
Yeah.
how do you, with this pandemic, I mean, how do you keep yourself motivated mentally in the game to be like, okay, I gotta keep going?
I'm really big on journaling. I journal every single morning, and I, you know, give my things that I'm thankful for and the things I want to do with my day and how I'm going to get to the next level. And so I'm very self-motivated. Working out is huge for me. That gives me my adrenaline rush I need for the day. I meditate when I need to. I don't meditate all the time. I wish I did. But when I need to, I do, and I read tarot cards. I do everything that's like
Mm-hmm.
the California connected to the universe way. But honestly, for me, being out in nature and connecting to the world is my biggest way of like regrouping, because I think I can get into my own head pretty
Mm-hmm.
well, especially being in my little box of an apartment. But when you get out into the world and you're breathing and you're listening to the birds and you hear all the trees moving in the wind, and it's just like, you're like, what? There's so much in this world, and we're all so little and so insignificant if we just like, fuck it. Fuck all the things that might be pissing me off that day and just let it go, you know?
Do you ever see yourself like settling down and having a family?
I don't want children. No.
No.
I have 13 nieces and nephews and two godchildren. And I have two little sisters that are adopted that are 13 and 5. I'm sorry, 12 and 5. Um, so I have so many children in my life. I love being the fun aunt who flies them out to go to Disneyland. I
Mm-hmm.
love being the person who can go to, you know, when the world works, I can go to London on the weekend because I have nothing holding me back. Like, I love that aspect. And my dreams and desires are to travel the world and to change the world and to unite the world. And I don't think that involves me having children.
So I mean, you found that perfect partner who was like,
I would love the perfect partner to travel the world with me,
mm-hmm,
but um, they would have to be on my level, if not above my level, because I need someone who can push me. I am such a motivating factor in my own life. So they would have to be like, I mean, I'm up at 5 every morning, like raring to go.
yeah,
So this person is going to have to be up at 4:30 making me breakfast, you know, like they're
mm-hmm.
going to have to book the plane tickets. Like, I want to do what I want to see. And whoever is my partner is going to have to really step up a big game because I'm so in love with myself. And I love doing things solo. And I love meeting people when I'm out solo. So for me, like, as much as I would love a partner, it's a big, big void to fill. Like, I don't know how anyone's going to do it.
Well, you are a wild woman, but I mean, I think that's the beauty about it is that you're so adventurous and
Yeah.
open, and I think that's where you have to find. Even for me, it's like trying to find that person, especially in our industry, when you're in the public eye and people know who you are, to be able to find that balance to have somebody like, look, that's my other life. This is who I am. So have you ever been on a situation like where you've been on a date or been in a public setting where, as I said, someone didn't know what you did, but then all of a sudden, like you've had a crazy encounter with a fan and they were like, hey, I saw you like, and they're like, what the fuck what do you do? Like, did you ever have a crazy moment, like a crazy fan moment?
No, I mean, I've had fan moments, definitely. And I will say, can I just throw this out there? I literally love when fans come up to me. It makes my day. I was out to dinner last week with a friend and had a fan come up. And he was like, I hate to interrupt. And he was like, but are you Silvia Saige? And I'm like, woof, beaming. I'm like, yes, I am. Like, I took his mask off, kissed him on the face. I'm like, I don't care. I'm vaccinated. I don't give a fuck. But I'm like, I just love it. It makes me so happy.
So for you, like, what would this Silvia Saige today say to the younger Silvia Saige?
Oh my God. I would say, girl, pull your head out of your ass. Stop spending all of your money. Save it. Take yourself more seriously. Believe in yourself. And say no to a lot more things.
Tell me about your podcast for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, my podcast is called Sexy Funny Raw. It's myself and usually I have guests where I have porn stars or comedians who will come on the show and we all talk. It is always sex education. So it is some way to teach you, whether it be a lesson in relationships or a lesson in sex. It's sex education with a porn perspective. And it's a funny way to talk about the issues and concerns and funny things that happen in sex and sexuality.
So you're like the new 2020 Shane's World.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I used to watch her stuff back in the day, and she actually, when I met her the first time, I'm like, you realize you made my sex life better just because she had an episode with Nina Hartley, and it was teaching how to properly eat pussy, and that is like
many people don't know that.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like for me, I've always told guys like, you know, like anyone can go down there.
Yeah.
But knowing what the fuck you're doing is a whole other story because you got to remember, you know, women, when it comes to them sexually, it's so much easier in the sense for a man to be pleased. Like,
oh yeah.
But women, there's a technique, you know, you can thrust right in the middle or you can work around the edges and you can, you know, and I remember I was like, this shit ain't going to work. And when I did it, it was like the first time I ever made someone spray, and I was like, "Holy fuck! Like this shit is." And I went out.
Like,
I learned, and I think now that's the, you know, the beauty about where I say like we live in a world where sex is thrown in our face daily, so that's why it's very hard for me to understand when adult film stars get the rap that they do, that they're dirty, they're this, they're that, and all these other things. I'm like, you do the same shit in your real life. They just have the balls to do it on camera and get paid for it. So does that make what you do behind closed doors any different than what they do? And that's where I'm like, for you, like, what has been the biggest misconception, even when you're dating, like, of somebody has dating a porn star?
I think that they think that it's going to be like sex, like hanging from the chandeliers, and I'm going to come out in, you know, a 5-piece lingerie set every time, and I'm going to do a strip show, and it's going to be a 10-minute sloppy blowjob, you know, and it's like, that's not what sex is going to be for me in my personal life. Like, it's going, like, I hope for nothing more than 15-minute sex, because I think anything over 15 minutes, we're just killing time at this point. Very busy. I have a lot of things to do.
You got to get the Runyon Canyon, Brian.
Yeah, I'm like, I am a very busy girl. Can we speed this process up? No. And I'm like, maybe 3 positions at best. Like, I'm not doing like reverse cowgirl on your dick because there's no camera here, you know? So it's just like, they think it's going to be this crazy wild thing. And it's like, I'm still just a regular person. So I'm on camera making a movie, and that's the movie I'm creating, you know? So my real life is not a movie.
Do you ever, I mean, how long do you think you want to stay in this business? Do you see yourself leaving it at any time?
I am dwindling out by choice. Not that I'm leaving anytime soon, and I say this to everybody, just that I have found more passion doing other things, including my podcast and more mainstream acting. So I'm fading out, but not anytime soon. And I have no way to put a time limit on it, just because I thought I would be in porn 2 years, and here I am 7 years later. So who knows?
What for you is the ultimate success for Silvia Saige?
The ultimate success for me, honestly, has nothing to do with pornography. The ultimate success for me is traveling the world with the person that I love, and cleaning the oceans and keeping the homeless off of the street. That's the main goals for me. I want to start charities and give back and make the world a better place.
And I think that, I mean, I think with you having such a voice and a following, and, you know, and being who you are as an outspoken person, I think that you are a person that can be, I think, a major change, not just in the world, but just in the industry itself, to sort of see, okay, you know what, there's another side to the business. There's another side where, like, you know, and I've always said, like, for people, I'm like, if you get into the industry of adult entertainment, there's nothing wrong with it, because I've done it, but as long as you have a plan. Like, if your life goal is to be doing it forever, then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going to fuck with that person, because they don't really have any real plan. But if you have a plan to say, okay, I'm saving my money and I'm getting out of it, like, or, you know, even for example, like my friend Lisa Ann, who's like the queen, you know, she used her notoriety and fame to do what she's doing now. And she's been able to have that sustainable career after the industry. And yeah, she gets booked and whatever and does appearances and stuff, but she's still doing what she's passionate about. And that's why I love about you, where it's like, you know, you're one of the probably the only few that I have seen in the industry in the last several years that actually, as I said, like, has another avenue to them. Like, most are just, they do the industry, they do the porn, but even they either make bad decisions, as you said, like where I had a friend of mine who's really well known in the industry, and she did it for a good 15 years. She's considered like in the MILF aspect, and she has, it's like, if you Google you, she's coming up. And the difference is that, like, with her, she was doing it with her partner at the time, her husband. Problem was, while she was the one doing all the work, they didn't trademark their stuff. They didn't get a manager. They didn't get an agent. So they put up all their stuff on Pornhub. And then basically the husband at the time was, it's not like he was like pimping her. She was doing the work because she was the star. He was taking all the money. And she put her body through that shit for 15 years.
Wow.
And then once she retired, she didn't have anything left. Like she had, and I'm like, how do you do that shit? And she's like, well, I didn't. And when she told me, I was like, this is the mistake that I feel people make. It's like, if you're going to get into that business again, have a plan, have an end goal where you know that your money's going to be secure, the bag's going to be secure when you're done, because you got to look at it exactly what you said. You're putting your body through that trauma.
Yeah.
Regardless, whatever you want to say, like you can enjoy sex, but it's trauma when you're having to do that and mentally prepare.
It's very exhausting.
Exhausting. So like for you, like how do you prepare when you are going to work, and then how do you shut it off? The Silvia Saige porn star at the end of the day.
Yeah. I will say I do have to wrap this up soon though, because I do have another thing, but I will address that. I mean, honestly, for me, I prepare the night before. So I am like getting ready. Like I can only shave my vagina the night before, not the day of. So I'm shaving the night before, which also makes me feel sexy. I don't know what it is, but something about shaving my vagina just makes me want to put things inside of it. So that automatically ups my sex drive. And in the morning before I go to set, I usually masturbate a little bit, but I don't come. So it gets me like raring to go for the scene. So I'm like mentally in like a really horny mind state. But then afterwards, there is no shutting it off because I'm so dead. Scenes are exhausting. So it's being on for everybody. It's being there for the camera. It's being in that character that you're playing. It's saying those lines. It's doing those sex positions. And then afterwards, I'm just beat. So my mind is just shut off. I mean, I'm ready to smoke some weed, eat some food, and go to bed. So it's a very easy shut off.
For you, what would you say the difference is for you between sex and love?
Oh God, so different. Sex for me is it is almost non-mechanical in every aspect because I certainly still enjoy it in my personal life, but there's just a deeper connection with love. And I feel like you can make love to a person or you can have sex with them, and they're so drastically different. Making love to someone is that like you feel it in your soul. You can almost look into their eyes and feel what they feel for you. That's love making. And I've had that, but not in a long time.
Your biggest regret to date?
My biggest regret, honestly, is not doing it sooner.
Doing what sooner?
I wish I would have started everything, comedy and adult, sooner. I wish I would have. I'm glad I went into the medical industry. I'm glad I have a college degree, and I'm glad I work in corporate America. I just wish I would have quit sooner, and I wish I would have found both of these professions sooner. I would have saved more money. I keep saying that. I spend like nobody's business. So yeah, just those things. Sooner and saved more money. Yeah.
So what for you is next on your bucket list for you? Like,
well, I'm doing it. That's the thing, is I'm such a planner and I really go after my dreams. So I'm doing what's next. I actually just accepted a role for a mainstream movie. So I'll be the lead character.
Congratulations. What's the name of the movie?
Thank you. The movie is called The Haunt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
And what's it about?
So it's a movie about my my mother has passed, and I take my family into my mother's house to like, you know, close up her house and pack up her belongings and, you know, do what we need to do. And next to us is a man who runs a haunt, which turns into be a he's just a serial killer, basically. So I don't want to give too much away, but that's the basis.
So when will that come out for people who want to see it?
Well, I don't know when it will come out. We're starting filming in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but I'm also writing my own series and developing that as well. And I'm also got my hands in producing a mainstream movie as well. So I'm really moving more toward a mainstream myself.
And considering that, I was saying before, like with you, I've always felt, as I said, as a performer, just also as an actress in the industry, that you've never gotten the respect that you deserve from AVN. Like, what is, I mean, what is your feeling on that, on the way that system now is being run?
I think respect is going to come, honestly, and the more I keep doing and putting it in front of people's faces, and the less they can deny that I have any talent or any desire or anything like that, then they just have to accept it. I think you just keep working hard and you put yourself in people's faces and make them regret the things they said. And that's always my goal.
So that's beautiful. So for you, like, you know, going forward in the sense, number one, with all the things that you have done in your career to date, is there anything left that's besides, you know, traveling the world, as you said, and is there anything that's on the list? We're not even, give you a two-part question. What would you say after you vulnerability gave yourself in your IG video the other week, for the people who are watching right now all over the world? What would you say for those people who don't know who Silvia Saige, the woman, is, who you are?
I would say that I'm a very driven, very caring, very loving, very emotional human. And I think that I'm funny and talented and hardworking. And I think that the world is going to see a lot more of me coming up soon.
Biggest inspiration?
Oh my God, I have so many. Honestly, I probably have to say Ellen DeGeneres, just because I really do think like she changed how the world viewed her and people like her, and that's my goal.
Okay, we're gonna do word association quickly, and then I'm gonna let you go. Let me think here. I'll start off with the first one. Ellen DeGeneres.
Happy.
Robin Williams.
Ugh, sad.
Russell Peters.
Hilarious.
Um,
Can I also say kind? Russell is one of the kindest humans I've ever met in my entire life.
Great dude. Great dude.
Yeah.
For you, what would you, if you're the first thing, if you were to, let me think here. I want to think of a good one here. Favorite food?
Mashed potatoes.
Favorite drink?
That's a tough choice. I don't know. Whiskey, wine, tequila, water. In that order.
Favorite movie?
Oh my gosh. Pulp Fiction.
Favorite actor?
I don't think I have a favorite actor. I used to say Colin Farrell, but that was only because I wanted to sleep with him. It had nothing to do with his acting abilities.
Last song you listened to?
Oh my God, I listen to music like all day, every day. And honestly, the last thing I listened to right before this podcast was meditation music, because I journaled, and I listen to meditation music when I journal.
So for the people who are, as I said, are tuning in, guys, welcome to Hot Topic Celeb TV. If you guys missed this podcast, you guys can tune in on YouTube on Saturday to watch the full show in episode. So for Silvia, before you go, I want first you to plug where people can find you.
Yeah.
Also, I want you to say, hi, this is Silvia Saige. You can find me on Hot Topic Celeb TV. Also, you can do another one saying, hi, this is Silvia Saige. You can find me right here on DTEFLON.com.
Of course. Hi, this is Silvia Saige, and you can find me on Hot Topic Celebrity TV. And also to all the fans out there who did not get their questions answered, I am sorry. You can.
Well, we can take about three, 4 questions. Hold on a second here. So.
But you can find me on Instagram at Silvia Saige, the Silvia Saige, only with a blue check mark. On Twitter at Silvia Saige XXX. On OnlyFans at Silvia Saige XXX, and OnlyFans at Silvia Saige XXX.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a few questions before we let Silvia go. Also, one more, Silvia. Can you say? This is Silvia Saige, adult film star, stand-up comedian, actress. You can find me right here on DTEFLON.com.
Hi, this is Silvia Saige, adult film actress and stand-up comedian, and you can find me right here on
DTEFLON.com. Do it again.
Yeah. DTEFLON.
DTEFLON.com. Teflon. DTEFLON.com. So DTEFLON. Like Teflon, like the protector, like my name.
I know, right.
Okay. So we'll do it again.
Hi, this is Silvia Saige. I'm a stand-up comedian and adult film actress, and you can find me on DTEFLON.com.
Okay, so this question is, Silvia Saige, if you met someone in the future and you fell in love with that person, would you marry them over time?
Yes. I have no problem in getting married. It's the children I have a problem with.
Marcus Stone, 1993. Is there any place in the world that you'd like to travel and why?
Yes, I want to travel everywhere in the world, only because I want to meet all different types of people. The one thing that I think I love the most about leaving Kansas City was leaving behind everything I thought I knew and moving to different cities and different countries and meeting people has been my favorite thing I've ever done. So I want to go everywhere, but I think probably my biggest bucket list is going to be Africa.
Wow, that would be a dope place to go.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 2 more questions, guys, and that's it.
Okay.
Hold on. If you have a question, guys, drop it in the comments below. What's your favorite thing in this entire world?
Oh my God. Marijuana?
What are you, Alexis?
I'm like, marijuana is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I love it.
Okay, one more question here, guys. Okay. Oh, yeah, but tell people where they can find you on what social media platforms.
You can find me on Instagram, the Silvia Saige, Twitter, Silvia Saige XXX, OnlyFans, Silvia Saige XXX, or my YouTube channel, Sexy Funny Raw.
Last question, Silvia.
I'm actually going to meet Alexis, is why I have to get off here. So
tell her I said hello.
I will.
Hold on, where we go here. Would you ever consider having sex with a fan?
I think that anybody I have sex with better be my fucking fan.
That's a fucking good response. Oh my God. Okay. Sylvia, it is an absolute pleasure. I love you. You are definitely a light, a spirit that needs to be shined more on the world. I hope to have you back here. Actually, you know what? I'd like to have you and Alexis together back for part 2 because there's some questions that I think that the fans would want to know just in general. And there's some things that I want to know, but like, I want to thank you.
Fun.
I want to thank you for joining me here today. I want to thank you for giving me your time. I look forward to seeing your journey continue. I look forward. I will always stand with you and support you with whatever you need and whatever you're doing. And I think that for people, number one, who, again, don't know this woman and her story, you need to dial back and watch this podcast. Also, go to her IG and watch her story because you're going to remember the name Silvia Saige, and you're going to be seeing it in bigger lights, bigger cities, all around the world one of these days on the headlining in some of the most biggest comedy festivals in the world once the world opens up again. But I want to thank you, my friend. I love you, and I want you to enjoy your Sunday. And thank you for joining us today. All right, ladies. All right, guys. Peace.
Bye.
Don't forget, guys, welcome to another edition of Hot Topic Celeb TV. I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Don't forget, you can want to watch this podcast. You can find out, and by tuning in on Hot Topic Celeb TV on YouTube, hit the subscribe button in the bio if you want to stay up to date with new podcasts and new guests. Make sure you guys follow me at DTEFLON on Instagram. You can find also us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. So I will see you guys soon. Don't forget every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Legends of Hollywood, actors, directors, producers in conversation. And every Tuesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Hot Topics Radio TV After Dark. Thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. See you next week.